Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I thought I'd bring you guys a brand new update on my Blue Eyes White Dragon deck. This time it's to better serve the November 2018 format, especially with Danger FTK roaming around, and that deck has proven to be very, very difficult to beat, but it isn't without its weaknesses. And that's what I kind of want to get to today. With Blue Eyes, my deck is generally built to go first, and I found a way to really protect myself from that FTK burn loop. So I'll get to that in just a moment, and yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So of course you're going to be starting off with 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons, as well as 3 Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragons. These are all standard. So it's generally you're generally running 6 Blue Eyes White Dragons. You reveal the original to special summon the alternative, and with Blue Eyes White Dragon, my favorite thing about it is that it's a normal monster and it can't be hit with Sky Striker, Widow Anchor, or anything like that. So it's a normal monster, so it's unaffected by that. For back row removal, we have Dragon Spirit of White. This card banishes spells and traps when it's normal or special summon, and it counts as a Blue Eyes. And if your opponent controls a monster, you can tag out special summon Blue Eyes White Dragon from your hand, and it counts as a normal monster while it's in your hand or in the graveyard. So it's an easy target for Silver's Cry. Running the 1 Blue Eyes Solid Dragon for negation. This card, whenever it's normal or special summon, you can target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls, and you get to permanently negate its effects until, and that doesn't wear off, by the way, so that means your opponent essentially has to get rid of that monster and bring it back somehow. And if your opponent activates a card effect, you can shuffle this card back into your deck and special summon 1 Blue Eyes White Dragon. So it's a good way to, just kind of like stun your opponent, basically. Another good card to run that I thought was a really good tech was not Blue Eyes, but Arcbreak Dragon. Mainly because this card revives any level 7 or 8 dragon, except itself, during either player's turn. On the previous turn, it was sent to the graveyard, and it's during the standby phase. And also, if this card is revived from the graveyard, you get to banish all face-up spell and traps your opponent controls, and it gets 200 attack points for each one. So I felt like that was a pretty good card, and plus, in case of like I open up dead with Blue Eyes Solid Dragon, if I can pitch it away with Trade-In or Melody of the Awakening Dragon, as well as Arcbreak Dragon, then it doesn't become a dead card afterwards. Moving on for the support engine. Running 3 Sage with Eyes of Blue. Pretty standard. Discard this card. Target 1 effect monster you control, send it to the graveyard, and special summon a Blue Eyes. And if this card is normal or special summon, you get to... if this card's just normal summon, you get to add 1 level 1 light attribute tuner. So you got plenty of targets for that, like the White Stone of Ancients. If this card is sent to the graveyard during the end phase on the turn it's sent, you get to special summon a Blue Eyes from your deck, and that's not once per turn, but the part that is once per turn is its effect to banish itself, where you get to add a Blue Eyes from your graveyard back to your hand. And the last of our stones, we're going to be running 1 copy of White Stone of Legend. This card's a really good way to bait out cards like Ash Blossom. So you pitch this with Melody of the Awakening Dragon. They'll most likely Ash the Melody, but with White Stone of Legend, you'll still get the free Blue Eyes White Dragon to your hand. So that's why it's still a good card. And then we run 1 Glow Bulb, which just extends my synchro plays a little bit better. And it's also an easy target for Link Karibo as well. So Glow Bulb, definitely a great option. Still running 5 hand traps, but I decided to bump down my Ash Blossom to 2 now. Just because it's not as strong as I thought it was going to be, especially against the Danger FTK. But it's still a really good card, still one of the best cards. Running 2 Effect Veiler, it's searchable. And yeah, I still feel like it's one of the best hand traps to play, so Effect Veiler is definitely a great option. Now to deal with the Danger FTK, and this card is also searchable through the effect of Sage with Eyes of Blue, running 1 copy of Honey Water. Reason, because it's during either player's turn, you can discard this card to make any effect damage you take this turn 0. And since Danger Dark World FTK is generally built on burn damage, this card is really strong against that. Even Trickstar Burn, this is a good card to deal with them. So it's not just on Danger FTK, but there's still Trickstars. Even though it's technically tier 2 now, it's still a really powerful deck to this day, so Honey Water is definitely a good option to deal with those kind of cards. And like I said, it's a searchable tuner. It's level 1, it's light attribute, and yeah. So that's why I felt like Honey Water was definitely a great option to run, and after a lot of testing, it's definitely pulled through for me. Even though Danger Dark World is still capable of filling up boards, you can literally pick apart that board fairly easily as long as you run your Blue Eyes, and you should be able to overpower them. Alright, so moving on to the spells, we got 3 Melody of the Awakening Dragon, which searches out our Blue Eyes and our alternatives. 3 Trade-Ins, just to get some draw strength. I'm still not running bingo machines. They're too expensive, so for now, trade-ins is still a good option. Running 3 Return of the Dragon Lords, because it's the best revival. You got plenty of level 7 and 8s, and plus you can banish this card to keep your dragons from being destroyed. 2 Called by the Grave, since this deck is primarily going first. It's a good way to stop hand traps or from being disrupted, like with cards like Drone Logbear. That seems to be the one card that hurts this deck. Even Ghost Bill hurts this deck quite a bit, so that's why I don't like to deal with those. 1 Shrine, just because 2 became, like, so at times when I did run it at 2, I opened up with 2 and it became a dead card, even if it didn't get hit with an Ash or anything like that, so that's why I didn't really bump it up to 2, still keeping it at 1. But still running Foolish Burial, so that's pretty standard. 1 for 1, of course. Brought back Pot of Desires to just 1. Bumped Silver's Cry down to 1 as well, just because I don't have too many normal monster targets aside from Dragon Spirit of White and Blue Eyes White Dragon, so I felt like 1 was enough. 1 Soul Charge really works well because, like, especially like I said, this is a deck that goes first, and if you open up with this card, you may have already won. And finally, 1 Monster Reborn. All standard cards to choose from. Alright, let's go and go through the extra deck real quick. So starting off, 1 Summon Sorceress. Just as an added extender for Synchro and Xyz play, so Summon Sorceress is definitely a must, and you got plenty of dragons to summon with, so yeah. Hippo Shinigami, which is just a big power boost for all our light attribute monsters, and this deck is primarily light attribute. 1 Linkuriboh, no reason not to be able to summon this. You got so many level 1s, like, it's just crazy. For Synchros, we got 2 Blue Eye Spirit Dragons, just there to, like, slow down Pendulum players. Also negates monster effects in the graveyard once per turn, or I believe it's any graveyard effect. Let's see here. Activate an effect. Yeah, okay, so it's any effect from the graveyard. So yeah, but yeah, it stops any cards that, like, can special summon 2 monsters at the same time, like Goku Rematch, Magician's Navigation, Pendulum Summoning. Blue Eye Spirit Dragon is definitely good for that, and plus it can tag out for any light attribute dragon type synchro monster, so that's why it's also an excellent choice. 1 Black Rose Moonlight Dragon, which is really good to bounce back cards, and it's a light attribute, so you can summon it through Blue Eye Spirit Dragon. 1 Azure Silver Dragon, just to give ourselves a layer of protection. Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, which we summon out through through Black Rose Moonlight Dragon, since it is a level 7 synchro monster, and with Globe Bulb, it just really makes it easy to summon out Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon whenever we need to. It's a negator, and it's an honest in its own right. So Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon is definitely still a really powerful card, and fairly difficult to get around. 1 Blue Eyes Twin Burst Dragon is the only fusion we run. It's contact fusion, so we do not need polymerization of any kind. And it's good because it can attack twice on monsters, and if it fails to destroy a monster in battle, it banishes the monster it attacked. So yeah, it's a good way to get rid of, like, co-links, like with the extra link, and yeah, it's just so busted. For the Xyz monsters, running 1 Galaxy Eye Cypher Dragon, which is easier to use as effect now because with Summon Sorceress or Hit Push In again, it just gives us an extra arrow to be able to take control of our opponent's monsters. But our primary targets are going to be Cypher Blade, which pops, but if it's destroyed, you can summon back Cypher Dragon. Armor Photon Dragon also pops. Dark Matter Dragon, which helps us mill 3 dragons of different names, and our opponent has to banish 3 monsters. Tachyon, which at the start of the battle phase, you can detach 1 Xyz material, cancel out or negate the effects of all face-up cards on the field except itself, and this dragon can attack twice, and at any given point, if your opponent activates a card effect, it gains 1,000 attack points. And Hope Harbinger Dragon Titanic Galaxy, which is really powerful against Sky Strikers, negates spells, adds it to its material, and it can also control, like, what your opponent attacks if you detach 1 Xyz material. So yeah, it's a great card to run. Definitely a must against spell-heavy decks. Now for the side deck, to switch out our Ash Blossoms, I felt like 2 Drone Lockbirds was enough. Drone Lockbird is still being used to this format, especially against the Danger FTK, but it's also strong against Goki Nightmare, Spiral Nightmare, anything that does a lot of searching. Maiden with Eyes of Blue is still a good card. It's still my favorite card of all time. I like to run her as a bonus whenever I need to, but only when I need to. 2 Forbidden Scriptures kind of works like Tachyon Dragon, but its effects only work during damage calculation. But All monsters must battle in the original attack strength, and during damage calculation, all other cards have their effects negated. I found that cost down was really good because against extra link decks, any deck that can extra link that forces you with an Ibly, you play cost down, discard one card like one of your stones, make your Blue-Eyes White Dragons to level 6, tribute that Ibly, and you got a free 3k beat stick. Of course, you still have to deal with that Nightmare Mermaid, but at least you have something to protect yourself a little bit better. Against Ultra Guys or any back row heavy deck, Twin Twisters. Another good card to deal with decks that like to do a whole lot of searching, like Sky Strikers. Shared Ride's a good option against them just to get some extra draw strength. And for time rules, like any deck that relies heavily on face-up spell and traps, or even field spells, Spell Shattering Arrow, just to inflict some damage to them. That way you can win by time. Well, anyway, that's all I have for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this update, and I'll catch you guys again on the next video.